Hello everybody and welcome along to FHK League Season 2, and we're at the third to last round of the season. We head to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It was called the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in real life, but we still like to call it the Brazilian Grand Prix here. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me in the commentary box without a camera this week, his camera's broken unfortunately. We got Paul. How are you doing today, Paul?
Yeah, you'll have to deal with my disembodied voice today, as jarring as that may be, but I'm doing good. I'm excited to hopefully get another solid race under our belts for Tier 2, because round 8 of the season we've had some good races so far, but if there's any track that's going to throw up a good one towards the end of this season, it is definitely going to be Interlagos. It's one of my favourite circuits on the calendar. It's up there with the likes of Spa. In terms of my personal rankings, it never seems to disappoint, both in real life and in sim as well, so only good things to be expected from this one.
Yeah, so we'll have a look at the track then in Sao Paulo. It is 4.309 kilometres long, 15 turns, and it has 2 DRS zones to boot as well. And we had quite a good race in real life last week. We obviously had the sprint race and we had the main race as well, where George Russell won both of them. Will we see a Mercedes win in today's FHK race, or will we see someone different? We'll have to wait and see, but we'll touch on a little bit about last week, not too much, because so many things have happened which had a lot of issues, both on the track and tech issues from our end as well. But we saw Snake win the race. There were half points that were awarded because it was put to a 25% race, because otherwise we wouldn't have had time to get to our other things that we had planned during the night as well. So those are your results. We also saw Josh got a podium as well, and F1 there was on course to win that race, but unfortunately he disconnected from the game, unfortunately, or his game crashed, I can't remember now. So it's redemption time for him. And then we got the team standings with Aston Martin still leading the way by 2 points over Mercedes, with Josh scoring well last week. And then we got Cage Boy in second as well. Alpine in third on 111. F1 Nerd and Ella in fourth on 94 in the McLaren. And we got Alfa Romeo on 89 in fifth. Haas on 59 in sixth. Seventh is Ferrari on 58. Eighth is Red Bull on 51.5. Williams in ninth on 46.5. And then we have AlphaTauri that doesn't have any representatives on 26. That looks like where they'll be staying. So 3 more rounds to go, including the final round at the TBD Grand Prix at the TBC track, which is very, very exciting. I can't wait to see that. Only joking. It's a track we do not know about, because the drivers will be picking where they're going to be racing for the final round on the 3rd of December. But we're just waiting on one more driver to join the lobby, one of our new drivers actually, before we get going. The team's championship is looking quite close between the front two, isn't it?
It definitely is looking pretty close, and it could be a little bit larger of a gap, I would say, in terms of providing the spectacle of a race down to the wire for the Drivers' Championship especially. It was sort of aided last week by the issues that happened, with F1 Nerd looking set to take the race win before that weird lobby thing happened, and he wound up just racing against himself, and therefore not part of the main session and not scoring any points. But we know he had pace last week. I'm sure that pace will be coming back as we head into Brazil, so that McLaren is definitely going to be one to watch. But also there's ones to watch with those team standings as well. You've got Aston Martin and Mercedes very, very close at the top of the Constructors' Championship, with just 2 points separating them. So it's going to be a tight fight for both championships, with a handful of different drivers involved in each one as well. We're going to have our work out for us trying to do that commentator math the later this season goes on, to see who's going to finish where. Luckily in Brazil we won't really need to rely on that too much, because 2 rounds to go, there's still plenty of points up for grabs. But it is definitely shaping up to be a very exciting end to Season 2.
Yes, permutation is something I do not get on well with. It always takes me a while to figure out who needs to finish where to win the championship and stuff like that, especially when it comes to Constructors, because I think Constructors is going to be the main thing on people's mind. I believe the driver that we were waiting for has just joined the lobby, so hopefully we'll be able to get things underway soon. There's quite a few changes in today's proceedings due to what happened last week with the technical issues in the lobby. So we're not having full qualifying, we're having short qualifying, and we're not having a formation lap, and safety car will be on reduced. So those are the few major changes as well. I'll go quickly through the damage settings as well. No simulation damage today. We got standard damage for the car damage and the car damage rate as well. So those are all the changes. Hopefully, touch wood, that should make the lobby more stable. And obviously people can get to where they're going quite quickly as well. And it makes things even more tense because they only have 3 or 4 runs to get it right compared to the amount of laps we've had in full qualifying for pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a common thing through qualifying in this season so far when we've been running the full qualifying sessions is quite a lot of drivers going out and just using Q1 almost as a practice session just to get their eye in, sort of find their limit in terms of grip on the track. They've got a lot less time to do that now, given that we do only have just that flat 18 minutes. That's all you're getting. So you're going to have to dial it in a lot faster now with it being short qualifying and make sure you are on the limit as quickly as you can be. But it also does mean mistakes like we've seen creep in through the season in qualifying sessions are going to be a lot more punishing around on short qualifying than they were on full. On full qualifying, yeah, we saw some drivers crashing out when we were running sim damage last week and winding up making the first 2 qualifying sessions mostly redundant. But if you spin now and you lose a good lap, that could be your qualifying done and dusted if there's not a lot of time left in the session.
Yeah, exactly. Not that long to really get your head around the track as well, and Brazil is quite a short track anyway in terms of lap times. They will get quite a lot of laps anyway as well, but they won't have enough soft to play with as well, so some of them may only go for 2 runs. For the likes of Finbot, he's going on inters, he said, because he doesn't want to use all of his softs in quali, which is fair enough, and he did check if it was allowed, believe it or not, and it is allowed, so all is good. There are a few tier 1 drivers in the lobby, but they're not allowed to set a qualifying run. They just do an out lap, go into the pits, and then retire. But luckily we got a majority of tier 1 drivers anyway, as Finbot clearly demonstrates why he's not qualifying today. He's disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane, so there we go. Without further ado, I may as well show you the action today and get in to qualify. Have we got our first driver that was out of the pit, which was one of the Ferraris, I believe. It was Parker, who did some solid laps in qualifying last week, but has yet to prove himself much in the race. We'll see what he could do in the Ferrari this week, of course. Quite a few reserve drivers here, as Monkey has retired as well. But binned it in turn 1, it looks like, or in the X of the pit lane, which is not good. And as you were saying earlier, if you bin it at the start of the session, then it looks like you will be starting near the back of the grid. But luckily not last, because Finbot is disqualified. So unless you get disqualified, you're absolutely fine.
Yeah, apparently, as it seems, Finbot having an issue with the wheel turning, and it didn't turn, which is why he wound up blocking the pit lane. Unfortunate, but ultimately not missing out on too many grid spots, having being starting towards the back of the grid anyway. But I think right now the first time we are going to see is going to be from Parker in that Ferrari. Then it looked like there was a little bit of tangling going on with one of the Alpines on the outlap as well. It looked like through turn 4, Parker got a bit of a tag from behind and had to Tokyo drift it around Desida de Lago. But for now, all looking nice and tidy on this first lap of the session. Into the infield section then, coming through Ferradura and towards turns 7 and 8 as it tightens into this twisty and technical little midfield section of the circuit. It's a very interesting part of the circuit, very difficult to absolutely get the most of the time out of the car, I've found, whenever I've driven it at the very least. But then once you have managed to get through this section, you head out through Magulo, you just got a couple of corners left to go, through Junsao, and then onto the long left-hander that sweeps up the hill towards the final corner. I guess it's not really a corner, but it's also classified as a corner. Turn 15, Arquibancadas, and then you are straight across the line, full throttle in a 109.444 for Parker, and There's a solid lap time on the board to open the salvo for this qualifying session.
We have Doug, who is on a lap. He just came across the line in P10, not a representative lap time at the moment. We got Asylum, who just came across the line in P1. We got another of the Aston Martins of Yash, I believe, who's just come across the line and just tipped both of those drivers, which is great to see. And he moves out the way of the other drivers. Next across the line is one of the Hasses, which was Grim Reaper, but he went into the pits on the mediums. I guess he wasn't happy with his progress. We got someone that's almost binned it. We've got Ruller, who's going into the pits. So not many people are comfortable with their first flying laps right now, but still a long way to go in this qualifying session. As I think one of the other Ferraris is on a lap time. That is Hannah. Very good lap time from her, 109.7. Only a few tips shy of her teammate, so a lot to improve on there. We got Snake still in the pit. Alex has binned it in the middle of the second sector. You got to be careful not to cut the corner like that, otherwise your next run will be invalidated and you may use those tyres during the race. So you got to be careful with that, Sunshine. F1 Nerd going through the Zena Largo through turn 4 as well. We've seen quite a few people going side by side through here in league races and in real life. And we don't really want to talk about Hamilton and Albon coming together there. They've come together quite a few times when obviously Albon was in a Red Bull. But obviously they're on good terms now as his teammate moves out the way. Very technical sector, which I find very tricky for myself because I got a Brazil race in another league later, and it's just trying to find the most time out of this, and F1 Nerds find a lot of time. Apparently, according to the minimap, he is purple in the middle sector, but is that the game lying to us, or is that the game showing that he's quick? Well, hopefully it's the latter as he goes up to the line. Is it going to be pole, provisional pole? The answer to that is no. It's only full fastest for F1 Nerd. Yash is still fastest in the Aston Martin pool.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got KG Boy on a lap as well, just heading around the final few corners in the Mercedes. Will be the only Mercedes to set a time at this qualifying session as Valet is out of it, and that is P6. Another car slots between the two Ferraris, which were pretty close in terms of lap time, 109.4 to 109.7. And quite a few drivers managing to find that little gap of time to split those two apart, dropping Hannah down into P7 with that 109.779. And it is looking mighty close. Having watched the real world F1 Abu Dhabi qualifying earlier and seeing just how close the field was together there, I was hoping we'd get something similar from the drivers here in FHK, and it looks like they are delivering so far. 109.1 back to 109.7, 6/10 separating the top 7 at the moment, with only 9 drivers having set a time. 10 make that as Mr. Ginge comes across the line in a 109.10.4, though I did see some of that lap that wasn't representative, a little bit scruffy through the middle sector, so there's still time on the table for the Alpine. Speaking of Alpine as well, Jess, we should say once again, unfortunately, Hun not able to take her place in that Alpine today, which is why Ruff is alongside Mr. Ginge once again this week. We hope Hun sorts out any issues that she's having that's preventing her from taking back that seat very soon, as that championship battle is starting to heat up.
Yep, it is, and with some of your drivers missing, and if you don't have a full lineup in your team, then it could really cost them in the long run as well, because you really want to have experienced drivers in there as well. And Hun did score some decent points at the beginning of the season, but it will be up to Ruff to see if they can get Alpine back in the championship fight, because reserves do score points for the outfit. And all that counts really is a team's championship. Drivers' championship means nothing. Whoever wins FHK League is the team that will score the most points. And that's going to be hard for us for maths. And Grim Reaper, unfortunately, invalidated his run, so he wasn't able to set a run Snakey up to the line. Despite having no ERS across the line, he goes fastest with a 108.6. The first man into the 108s this afternoon. As Weller is now going through the middle sector as well. No such problem with his lap so far in terms of invalidating. So we'll see if he manages the final sector. All right, sector 2. What his time's going to be? It's going to be a 54.3 in the middle sector. So is that competitive? I don't know. We'll have to find out in just a moment. is the Alfa Romeos didn't score very well in the Abu Dhabi qualifying earlier on today. But will the Alfa Romeos do better? The answer to that at the moment is no. Only 11th fastest for Weller, slowest out of all the times so far that are still in the session. Of course, Alec retired earlier on as well because he binned it, unfortunately. And obviously Grim Reef has invalidated, so he's got a lot of work to do. But he's up to the line, and it's P3, and he's on the medium tyres as well. So I have to say, very competitive lap time on the mediums for him. He wants to save his set of softs for the end. He's going to be quite competitive, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we saw it last time out. We spoke about how Finbot, F1 nerd, sorry, was looking pretty strong to win before the server issues last time out. That was only thanks to Grim Reaper having a few little moments in the race. Grim Reaper was absolutely on it in qualifying, started to run away in a little battle for the lead, ended up having a spin, of course, that then put him way back into the field, and then spinning again, which put him to the back. So, yeah, we know Grim Reaper's got the pace. It's whether he can keep it between the white lines when racing and keep it pointing in the right direction, which is going to be very interesting to keep our eyes on. We've got yellow flag showing. I think that is just for the Aston Martin getting out of the way. But yeah, 109.2 on the mediums. That could be interesting going into this race, because there's no need to set a time on the mediums. You can still choose what tyre you want to do in qualifying versus the race. That rule has gone, so it's not like if you set a lap on the mediums now you have to start the race on the mediums. So maybe just choosing to sort of find his pace on those mediums before swapping to the softs towards the end of the session. We'll have to wait and see. But another quick thing I wanted to bring back, as you were mentioning, Snakey going across the line with no ERS. I think that is, from what I can remember from races gone by, that is quite a common thing we're seeing Snakey do, is burning absolutely everything in that battery on a qualifying lap and leaving nothing on the table. I vaguely recall it happening last week as well, with Snakey trying to set that time, burning every single tiny bit of battery in that car on the hot lap, which, well, it clearly works, as he's currently sitting on provisional pole position.
Yeah, and if it works, then don't fix it, if I would say, as Asylum is going to be crossing the line as well. He's got more EOS to play with as well, so it's going to be very competitive. A short run to the line, and is fastest by a tenth over Snakey. So a Williams driver on pole position. We haven't seen that in a long time in Formula 1, but will we sit here today? Well, it's looking likely at the moment, but I'm almost certain that the likes of Grim Reaper and Yash will get into the 108s eventually. So that's going to be very competitive indeed. Interlagos' circuit was built in 1940, but first hosted a regular round of the Formula 1 World Championship in 1973. It's the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in honour of Carlos Pache, a Sao Paulo local who won his only F1 race at the circuit in 1975. But then, unfortunately, he died in a light air crash in 1977. But we still know the circuit's Interlagos. It's hard to pronounce the other one as well. And many drivers have won, like I said, most recently George Russell. And we also had Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz recording their first ever podiums of their careers as well. Carlos Sainz never actually stood on the podium properly in that Brazilian race until obviously Lewis Hamilton got penalised. And then I think a few hours later, I think there was a photo opportunity, so Carlos actually stood on the podium, which was quite funny, but it was very well deserved, I think, from Sainz. I think everyone was quite happy about that. But speaking of Mercedes, here is KG Boy, a driver that needs to redeem himself after only scoring 5 points last week. He felt like he could have done better. He's P2 in the Drivers' Championship, P2 in the Teams' Championship. It's all that matters here today. And he's only got a few rounds to prove to himself that Mercedes can really help with that Constructors' fight. And KG Boy, he's going to go up to the line now on those set of soft tyres. Can he break into the 108? The answer to that is no. 109.381 for him. And we got Doug, oh careful, he just about avoided the wall there. That was close. And we got Snake, who's just about to start his run on a set of the the softs. I believe he used a lot of ERS at his out lap as well, because he always goes on hot lap when he goes out the pit. I wonder if he forgets to change it. That's probably why he always runs out across the line. So he's about to start his next run. I'm quite surprised, Paul, that he's gone out this early. I thought he would have rated.
Yeah, going somewhat out of sync with the rest of the drivers. You can see there's not many on track at the moment. And as is tradition, you'd see drivers waiting until the dying grasps of qualifying for those final runs, just to make sure they get the absolute best track conditions they can as you know, the track rubbers in and the grip levels improve. But Snakey choosing not to wait for that, going out on a lap out of sequence, as we say, before everybody else, and going through the middle sector. At the very least, he's got no traffic, but also has no ERS left. 10% on that battery already, as you spotted there, Jess, going onto that with 32% in the tank. Not ideal, but still good pace through the middle sector. It's about a tenth and a bit up so far is Snakey, so there's improvements coming in that Red Bull as we head around the final few corners and in a dash towards the line. Is he going to stick to the left? And undoubtedly, yes, to cut that run short, but not enough improvement to retake that pole position. That is mighty, mighty close. 108.584 to Asylum's 108.574. 10 1,000ths of a second in it between the two at the minute. And that could be the last we see of Snakey in this qualifying session, though it depends really how many soft tyre sets he's got left. If he's got another set, he could run back to the pits and fit those and get straight back out again with the rest of them. But time would be very, very tight indeed.
It is a short lap, but you will be cutting it fine. If he does get back into the pits, then fair play. But he's got a lot of work to do, so he's going to start no higher than second for now. And we do know that a lot of drivers are wanting to improve on their runs, including this boy, F1 Nerd, the man who disconnected last week in Japan, who's got a point to prove. He wants to be up there challenging for the top spots, as F1 Nerd is currently still leading the Drivers' Championship. But with a few drivers scoring last week and him didn't, then that closed the gap even more. Purple middle sector, F1 Nerd. But it's the final sector is usually where he is lacking. So we'll see if he can nail the final sector this time. It's all about straight line speed here as he goes up to the line. Can he get pole? No. 109.1 for him. And it is the final sector that was lacking just a little bit. We got Hannah on a run as well. She's a few 100ths down on her previous run. Ella has backed off. I think that'll be the last time we'll see if
Hannah's gone.
Hannah is reset. Well, Hannah's cut the corner and then reset the track there. I wonder if the game put reset the track or if it's herself. But if you did reset the track, then unfortunately you'll be getting a slam dunk penalty for the next race, which is not ideal. Definitely if she's going to make it back in time to actually set another lap anyway. So unless she's going to set another lap again, she is setting another run. Okay, that sort of explains it. But I think she will be penalised potentially for doing that, because it could be an unsafe rejoin. But we got Parker, her teammate, on a run. Doug on a run. Pretty much everyone is going on runs now, apart from Snake. Snake is not going to have time to get out of the pit, unfortunately. So that is his qualifying session done and dusted. But for everybody else, it's their last chance to see if they can beat Asylum's 108.574 and nick pole position.
Yeah, pole position, as you were saying, currently being held by a Williams, which is something we've not seen for quite some time. And Asylum out there at the moment, almost matching, about a 10th difference to the best time on the board at the moment. Who's going to be the next one across the line? I believe it is going to be Grim Reaper to the line now. And is there an improvement there? 109.292. Not quite enough to improve on position, but improvement in time nonetheless. KG Boy now coming across the line as well, 52.7 through the middle sector, and it is an improvement once again, but not enough to improve in position. We've got a Ferrari facing the wrong way, it looked like there, and that was
Hannah.
Hannah as Parker goes through, and There's an Aston Martin managed to make it through there as well. I believe that was Doug heading through, or maybe Yash actually, heading through there. It was Yash, but again, no improvements. The driver's finding time, but not enough to change their position. Oh, as I say that, Asylum finding more time in that Williams. 108.542 now, extending the gap at the front in the Williams for now, as Snakey is not going to improve on that time in the pits. F1 Nerd also ending the session. Hannah is done. Ella Riggles is done in this qualifying session as well. There's the Alfa Romeo of Weller is coming in, and that is also going to be session over for Weller P12.
And KG Boy as well. He spun in the final sector. Yash is done as well. Doug up to the line. We'll see if he improves. He does not. He stays in 5th, 6th place. Grin Reefer's binned it. He's got no front wing. And he's retired on track, which is something you're not allowed to do here in FHK. And KG Boy is going into the pits because of his spin. Ginger has it invalidated. So I believe that is it, unless Parker could do any better. No, Parker's invalidated as well. So it is Asylum on a pole position with a 108.5. And it seems to me Sector 3 was a problem sector for everyone. But I find Sector 3 the easiest out of all the sectors, which is quite weird. But it obviously just depends on what type of setup you've got. As the top 2 separated by a few 100ths of a second. Then we got the top 4 separated by around about 5 tenths. And then we got Reefer and Dud there quite close together, as well as KG Boy and Parker. And then we got Hannah quite close to Parker, teammate. Then we got the 1010 gang of Ella Riggles and Mr. Ginge together. And Weller and Alex, the 111 gang. And then everyone else, obviously, because they're tier 1 drivers, they are forced to start in the back, but I think there was a few crashes as well from some of the tier 2 drivers. But we're about to get underway for the third to last round of the season. We'll go through your results once more. So the American of Asylum is on pole, with Snakey in second, Yash in third, F1 Nerd fourth, Grim Reaper fifth, Doug in sixth, KG Boy seventh, Parker eighth, Hannah ninth, Ella Riggles 10th, Ginger 11th, Weller 12th, Alex in 13th. Those were the ones who set the lap times. And there'll be Rough Monkey, Deadly Val, and Finbot in that order competing in today's race. Now, as we were saying earlier, no formation lap, so we will be getting underway quite quickly in today's session, so we won't be able to talk about the tyres.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a blessing for quite a lot of people who get very bored of tyre talk in Formula 1, but yeah, I imagine there's going to be a pretty uniform strategy across the board, to be honest. In terms of tyres, we might see a few outliers. I'm expecting to see quite a lot starting on the mediums, I would think. For this race, maybe we might see the odd hard tyre and the odd soft tyre, but I think the main choice tyre is going to be the softs. But we'll wait and see as everyone loads in. Perhaps we can cover that very quickly before everyone readies up, before we go racing, as it's going to be a pretty rapid start.
Yep, it is. Now, it will either be a medium start or a hard start, potentially as well. And if they're safety cars, they will have a set of softs in their back pocket. Most people would have gone for the balanced option as well. So they will each have 2 sets of mediums, unless you're the likes of Grim Reef, for example, who went on the mediums in qualifying. So you'll only have 1 fresh set of mediums for the race. But if you only went on them for 1 lap, it won't make much of a difference because the tyre wear on the mediums is pretty decent around this track. So the clock is ticking then here at Interlagos. So we are about to get underway then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, the Brazilian Grand Prix. We've got myself and Paul taking you through the action here today. And I'm sure we're going to have some very exciting action. We always do in Interlagos. We have seen it in real life last week. So fingers crossed we will see it. So the countdown, 3, 2, 1. And the formation lap is not on. So we're about to get racing, hopefully. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights here in Interlagos at Sao Paulo. And it is lights out. And away we go. And I think Asylum has had a good getaway from Snake. F1 Nerd has jumped to 3rd place. Good start from him. KG Boy going around the outside of Yash. As there's a big pile up in the background. KG Boy is out. Haas has gone spinning around. And we already got a full course yellow, a safety car already in lap 1. So quite a number of cars involved in that incident. What a shame.
Yeah, absolute carnage, and it's still continuing. Is that KG Boy? No, that's a Williams. That's Deadly, I believe, who's had a spin through turn 3 as well. So the Center S is claiming victims in the opening of this race, because that's Ella was involved in that, Parker involved in that, obviously KG Boy involved in that coming together as well, and the biggest loser in that sense being the one that came out of it with no race to continue. Deadly doesn't seem to have had any damage, so looking okay, maybe just a spin on their own for now. And the VSC has ended. We are back racing again now. Asylum looked like he might have been caught sleeping a little bit on that restart, because Snaky is all over the back of him as we head down towards the line to conclude lap 1 of the race. But Asylum, we saw it in qualifying, so strong through that third sector, gets such a good drive coming out of Junsao and carries that momentum down the straight, and actually, without the slipstream helping him, has pulled away a little bit down the straight from Snaky. So whatever has happened...
Oh, and Aston Martin has spun. Sorry to cut you off. Yash has spun in the Center S, unfortunately. He's got no front wing. And luckily, I think we're still going. Don't forget, safety car is on reduced in this league now. And he's dropped down into 12th place. We've got Finbot going side by side with Rella up in to 7th position. The two Alfa Romeos were fighting very hard. And by the way, Val has had a very good start in the Mercedes up into 5th place. And that can make a huge difference in the Constructors' Championship. But guess who's in front of him? And Aston Martin in 4th position. We've got one Mercedes out of it, so that's good news for your Aston Martin fans. So Val really needs to pick up the points for Mercedes, as there was a little bit of a love tap there. Hopefully it's not a bit of a lag my end there, but we'll see what these two can do as they head towards Jungsao. Ginge had a good start as well. Speaking of start, let's see who's gained the most positions. We have Ginge up 5, Finn up 11, and Val's going to make it up 13 places as he gets past the Aston Martin up into 4th place. We've got Weller up 4, Ruff up 5, Alex up 3, as well as Deadly. Biggest loser out the one still in this race. Grim Reaper down 9.
Down 10 now for Yash, having to pit from that incident we saw just after the restart, going through the Center S as the start of lap 2. Losing another position now, as well as Ruff is gaining a position on Weller down towards turn 4 with the aid of that DRS, sliding that Alpine on by and into P8. But yeah, it did see there was so many cars have lost out, because Grim Reefers had to make a pit stop. Yash now has made a pit stop. Hannah's had to pit. Ella's had to pit. Monkey's had to pit. So many drivers were caught up in that carnage at lap 1, turn 1. And it has completely thrown their races to the side. And I'm seeing something else that might throw some races to the side. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it's getting pretty cloudy out there, Jess. And we have got some, I believe it's changed to approximate weather settings now as well, so nobody's really going to know what's going on. But I can definitely see some clouds up there. Are we potentially going to see some rain through the midpoint of this race that is really going to throw it on its head?
Val's just got past F1 Nerds. Quite a comfortable move from him before you hit turn number 1. So good job from him. And yeah, it is starting to get quite dark. You can see the dark clouds emerging here. Now we've got Milsom and Ginge going side by side there. I don't think it was too much for contest, but Ginge is going to fight back here as they head towards the straight, down towards the scene of the log of turn 4. And Ginge gets back to 6th place, and I have to say, fair play to him in that Alpine car, and he is trying to close in on the rest of the pack, but is already starting to have trains break free at the moment. And we got one at the front, obviously, with Snake and Asylum, and Snake almost got Asylum there. That's all. It's going to be a risky move there going into the start of sector 3, and Snake is doing all he can to try and get P1 away from Asylum. If I was him, I'll try and stay behind to make sure you get the DRS, but Snake gets past Asylum just before Jungsao. But I wonder if that's a mistake, because Asylum is going to have a massive tow from the Red Bull driver then. So here he comes then, onto the start-finish straight, or I wonder if Snake has got a plan to his madness then. Asylum down the inside, in towards turn number 1. Usually never goes down well, but Snake covers him off, and Asylum could get the DRS here, heading in towards turn 3, which he does. Doesn't have much ERS, so he was trying to defend off Snake earlier on, which is why he only has 2%, and that is really helping Snake a little bit cover off these guys, as Snake has got 51% of ERS. So Snake the one who's got the most advantage up front in P1 Asylum. In P2 has yellow flags everywhere. There's one red ball that's gone off. We've got Weller, who's had a great start to this race on the medias, but then he got passed by Parker and Delhi by going wide. And speaking of Parker, how is he still in this race? If it was simulation damage, he would have definitely been out of that race. But he's still in this race, just got front wing damage, and he's going to go into the pits. I wonder if Parker went on the softs, thinking that they could rain quicker. We don't know. We got most people that gone on the mediums, a few people on the hard tyres. That is quite interesting. Monkey's in the pits, so I wonder if he's had some damage as well. He joined later on in the session as Deadly has spun quite a few spinners today, Paul.
Yeah, this is one of the side effects, I believe, of having that short qualifying is drivers aren't as dialed in as they would have been, and all the spins and stuff we've been seeing through like Q1 and Q2 when we've had full qualifying, that's sort of making its way into the fold in the race itself now as everybody tries to find that limit of grip. It was damage for Monkey in the Haas, which brought him into the pits, a new nose being fitted to that car and back out in P17. But back to this fight for the lead, I'm wondering if this might have been a little bit tactical from Asylum, because Asylum had used a lot of the ERS to try and stay in front of Snakey, and Snakey had a lot left when that move happened. I wonder if Asylum let Snakey take the lead just to hold on to DRS and use that in order to just sort of keep himself in touch with the leaders and recharge that battery a little bit, as Alex has had another spin in that Red Bull. No damage there whatsoever, but has been passed by Monkey now, not having a good time out there at the moment at all in the second Red Bull. We've got Red Bull's bookending the grid at the moment with Snakey out leading and Alex now in the final position still running. But Asylum has dropped back a little bit this lap, it has to be said, on Snakey, and Vala is hunting down these two, having made up so many positions off the start. Could we be looking at a Mercedes win here, as we saw in the real world F1 last weekend?
You never know, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does, but Val is in a prime position at the moment to get a massive tow. Another one is in prime position is Raf, who's got past Doug up to 6th position in that Alpine car. And another driver that did well in a real-life Brazilian Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso, despite his horrific sprint race, he did really well in the main race, finished 5th. And it was a really solid performance for him, as I believe it won't be that long before...
Contact between Ella Riggles and Yash into turn 1.
Ella Riggles almost got past Yash there, as Yash is pretty much the quicker driver. We'll see who has the better straight line speed then. Ella, don't forget, is on the hards. She did pit quite early due to her making contact in the pile-up in turn 1, as Alex is having a bit of trouble there on those hards and has spun yet again, so not good for him. We're on lap 8 of 36. Clouds still thickening just a little bit more. We haven't been told about what the weather is at the moment. We don't get access to the driver chat, which is a good thing, because if they do, they usually like to spoil the weather for us. But we like to have a little bit of a preview.
Yeah, Alex has retired for the race. I'm not sure if that was a retirement on track or if he's binned it somewhere. We've seen him struggling for grip, so it could be... he's parked. His car was parked in the middle of the road there. The leader's having to take some heavy evasive action through the middle sector. That was... He beached it on... Oh, he beached it on the track. That is incredibly unfortunate. And it did lead to a test of reaction times for our leaders, as Snakey, Asylum and Valor had to scatter to either side of the race circuit, as Ella Riggles now does finally get the move done on Yash through P1 on that harder tyre, but it's worth noting she's got damage on that car. That little bit of contact I witnessed as Yash is, in fact, in the pits, that's how she's got the move done, I believe. Or did he... No, Yash had a spin, must have had a spin, even, because it wasn't in the pit lane, yeah. But Ella does have damage to the front wing from the contact we saw on the previous lap. I just got it on my screen as she went to try the move on Yash one lap ago. Just tapped the rear of the Aston Martin, losing the left front end plate on that front wing. So that is not good, as the Alpine of Ginge also struggling out there today for grip in that middle sector, going around again, dropping down to P15. And there is just a small handful of drivers so far today that are really struggling, as I think Monkey has also had a problem through the middle sector as well. It is spin central in the middle sector of this, and again Monkey going around in the house.
Oh
And
no!
this is kind of what I was talking about last week as well, in terms of if you have a spin, just basically don't touch your throttle for a little bit, because your tyres are going to be like lava, you're going to have no grip. And now the race leaders are coming around to lap Monkey already on lap 9 of 36.
Oh, that is a shame for Monkey, who has been only called to race last minute, and he's already a lap down. So if there's any safety cars, he's already going to be pretty much behind everybody else right now. And in this game, you can't really unlap yourself in safety cars, which is a little bit unfair, in my personal opinion anyway. But we'll see if anyone else is able to recover. So we've got 2 retirements so far at the Brazilian Grand Prix, as one of them has just left the session. Expect the ones on the mediums, if it's a dry race, to pit around about lap 16 for the hard tyres, and for the ones who started on hards to pit around lap 26 for set the soft to go for around about 10 laps. As Milsom gets past F1 Nerd up to 4th place. But Russ going to fight back, so is Doug as well, who's not that far behind as well. As the track does get cooler in terms of temperatures, it means that they need to be more wary in terms of the temperatures as well, that they do not get too cold, especially on those hard compounder tyres. But the hard compounder tyres is a bit more durable in these conditions anyway, so it will come more into effect later on as well. And the ones on the mediums are going to hope that the rain does come soon, and if it does not come, then to go on the hards pretty quickly, but we'll see. It just depends on how long they go on for. So Ruff getting a good entry speed on F1 Nerd then, heading towards the start-finish straight then. It's going to go down the inside. He's taken the inside line earlier than we would have thought, and he does it with ease at the moment. He's up to 5th place, and he's now going to chase down his main rival of Finbot for 4th place. They are tier coordinators for this tier, for the league, I believe, as well. So those two have got some history, and none of them want to be the one that's the loser.
Yeah, right now the only thing they're coordinating is their way to get towards the podium. They're both charging through the field so far in this Brazilian Grand Prix. 4th and 5th at the moment, respectively, for Finbot and Ruff. With Valet 10 seconds down the road, chasing after the 2 leaders. Snakey's still leading at the moment, but Asylum's not letting him go. Though they are looking a lot more even in terms of ERS, those two now. Oh, as I say that, I'm going to stop talking. Asylum going around, coming out of Junsao, and that is... I don't know what
Commentator's
to say now.
curse from Mr. Paul.
Yeah, there's... I can only apologise to Asylum for speaking his name, as it's exactly at the same time I did. He looped it coming through Junsao, and I believe lost positions, though my timing tower doesn't say so yet. Though that may have been lapped cars going through, actually.
Yeah, it
Is.
was lapped cars, because obviously Monkey and Ginger, Monkey is a lap down, so...
Yeah, so coming back on track just ahead of this battle of Finbot Ruff and F1 then, it would seem, and we'll have to try and run away a little bit now, but using all the battery to try and pick the pace back up again, and this time won't have DRS to save him. Valet now has closed that gap right up to Snakey as well, it has to be said, reeling in that Red Bull as quickly as you like, as we've got yellow flags
That is
as
a Ferrari.
Hannah's gone off at the final sequence of corners. Does she have damage? Just about getting out of the way
she doesn't have damage.
No damage.
So she is all right then in that respect. But Val then. Val's got the straight line speed on Snake, and he's got the ERS then. He's not going to go to the inside, which is a very good tactic in my opinion. There's another yellow flag. There's Ferrari again, but let's keep an eye on this lead battle then. It's Val versus Snake. Who's going to come out on top so far before the first pit stop emerge? Well, the answer to that is Snake. Val could not get past Snake. That straight line speed from Snake was superior, despite Val having the DRS, unfortunately, but he's got a long way to go. And another Haas that spun, that is, I think, Monkey that spun again. He's going to be 2 laps down if he's not careful. And there's going to be quite a few drivers that will almost be a lap down soon. That'll be Ella, Yash, Parker, Ginge and Hannah. As Ella, speaking of Ella, picks herself a 3-second time penalty. So we'll see what Val could do this lap, as Cage is cheering on for his teammate of the day in the chat to see if they could do well in the Constructors. Obviously, Red Bull are not a threat in these Constructors because they're a little bit further down. So Val going to go to the inside this time. He felt like staying behind him did not work this last time round. So he's going to the inside. Can he hold the inside line? And he's going to get the DRS. That is the question. Snake does get the DRS, but is he able to get past Val? Now, clouds are getting less threatening at the moment, so it may stay like this. Heading towards the Cena de Largo. Oh, they make a bit of contact as
Verstappen and Hamilton all over again.
Yeah, from 2021 it looks like it was almost being pushed off the track. But Snake is in the lead. Val and Peter want to be looked into, but there was no harm done, so it will be a racing incident, I would expect. But yeah, that does remind me of 2021 in Brazil, don't you think?
Yeah, Red Bull and the Mercedes going side by side through turn 4 and running out of road in the process is art imitating life, really, isn't it? In that sense, with Snakey retaking the lead there, but Snakey has basically no battery left, has used so much to try and fight back against Val. Val's still sitting pretty with 2/3 of a tank left in that Mercedes at the moment, so advantage is definitely still in the hands of the Mercedes as we once again head towards the line. The DRS wide open for Val, the battery being used. This time a little bit further back though, just going to be closing up this time. But are we going to see a move into turn 4 as we've once again got Hannah off, and this time in a wall with no front wing, it would appear, this going through turn 1, as Monkey is retired from the session as well in the pit lane. Not happy with how his race has been going, becomes the 3rd retiree of the race, leaving Hannah now in last position. As in fact, it wasn't Hannah, I do beg pardon, it was the other Ferrari of Parker that went round at the center S's and lost the front wing. So both Ferraris really struggling out there at the moment, running down in 14th and 15th as Vala is still hunting as Finbot is out of the race. Finn's out of the race. That's at turn 1, I believe.
Safety car. Safety car. That was turn number 1. The same bloke we saw, I think, Alex spin it earlier.
Had just spun as well, yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that is Finn's race over. And that is good if you're on the mediums. You can go in a few laps early, go onto the hards, go to the end of the race. No problem. It's not much of a difference if you think about it. As it's only 1 lap difference. Everyone's coming in. You better feel the ones who are on those hard tyres. You may want to go onto the hard to soft strategy. Well, you probably have to be forced to do the hard to medium strategy. And you're going to have to pretty much be on mediums, which are not good towards the end of the race. So if I were you, I would pit anyway. Ruff is staying out. Now, that is something that I'm questioning from Ruff straight away, because I know he knows better. But I think he doesn't want to win this race because he wants to give Tier 2 drivers a chance, which is fair enough. We've got Grim and Weller, who I think will wait to go to the pits. The ones who were on the hards, go to the mediums with the likes of F1 Nerd as well. We've got Grim Reefer in. If nobody else comes in, that's going to be weird. Yash just came in, so did Ella, Ginge as well, and Parker. So the only driver that did not come in was Ruff in P1 at the moment. Everyone else has made their mandatory pit stop, either on the hards or on the mediums. I think the hards are the more durable tyre, but the mediums are going to be ever so far. What's happening with the safety car? Ruff, what are you doing? That was weird, but at least he's back following the safety car now. I literally can't call which tyre is going to be the best at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting end to the race. F1 Nerd's definitely got the grip advantage, and with the pack grouped up, that could play out well for him. But how well can he get those medium tyres up to temperature? Can he make them last to the end of the race as well? Of course, 18 laps to go by my terrible maths, something like that.
Not quite 18 laps, yeah.
Not quite 18
20.
laps. No, it's not. It's 20 laps. I don't know how I didn't get that. It's been a long day. And there's been a lot going on in this race as well, and I'll call my excuse on that, and it's a good thing I don't do maths for a living. But, yeah, rough leading at the moment. 20 laps, now 19 on those medium tyres. It's going to be... I think he can do it. It might be a bit touch and go on grip at the end. But, of course, having the safety car now will definitely help with that. As we do have... Weller has DNF'd somehow in the middle sector. I'm not quite sure what happened there.
So both Alfa Romeos out of this race.
Yes, both Alfa Romeo's out with Finbot, and then Weller.
I don't know what happened to Weller. I can't see him on the track.
What it was just here, coming out of turn number 6, coming out of Ferradura. It looked like he dropped it perhaps whilst trying to warm up the tyres, and wound up out of the race. But back to the tyres, we've got some interesting strategies going on with the mediums coming in as well. I kind of feel for Ella Riggles, who pitted the lap before and put a set of the mediums on, and is now behind Yash, who's only got 1 lap old mediums. But nevertheless, 5 cars out there at the moment on that medium tyre with the grip advantage. We'll just need to make sure they get those to the end. The battleground's been sort of evened between Snakey and Valor, and Asylum's been brought back into this as well, as the safety car is going to be coming into this at the end of this lap. Of course, we're going to have 2 laps then until the DRS is activated, but watch these lead 3 especially. They were locked in a battle before. Asylum span out of that, but has been brought back in with this safety car, and now we're just waiting for Ruff to guide the field down. How early will Ruff go, or is he going to take one of those really long starts, because it is a fairly long run down towards turn 1. You can see he's got until the checkered flag before racing starts, so he can go at any point he likes, and he will not want to give them slipstream. In fact, is he... I thought he was going to come into the pits there. He was so far to the left of the track, but now he's gone. And look at Snakey and Valor immediately almost side by side on the restart, and Valor looks like he's going to be making the move into turn 1 on the restart. Just got the better drive, and very wide for Snakey there, and he's gone round as well, and there's contact. More damage across the board. Pile up on the restart going through turn number 1. That was Asylum, hit him as well. Asylum's got no front wing. The round goes the Ferrari there as well, I believe. That was Hannah this time going around as well, picking up some of the advertising hoarding. F1 Nerd has made his way into the pits.
That was a pile up before the safety car got in, and there was a few drives that had damage, so... But at least it's on mediums now till the end of the race. But that was kind of repeating what happened in lap 1 pretty much with that pile up, except obviously that spin caught a lot more drivers out. The similar thing happened to me on Tuesday where I spun and it caught a lot of people out as well. So that is a shame. That is a shame for a few drivers, but it does bring a few drivers in it. Now everyone from P9 downwards is a lap down. So it's pretty much a battle from 8th place to see who can win this race. As Val is going to try and defend Ruff going the long way round, then round the outside across the centre S's then. And they're going to hold their line potentially as well. Val keeps the lead from the Alpine driver at present. But Ruff's got plenty of VRS to use, but he's not going to use it around the outside this time at the scene of Largo. Val stays ahead. He's doing an incredible job. I do have some word in chat, by the way. Weller's wheel was just unresponsive coming out of the pits, and he went straight into the wall. And he said words that I'm not going to be saying on stream. So a bit unfortunate for Weller, because it was looking like a good race for him, as more drivers are going into the pits due to the fact that they got caught in the pile-up. But they won't lose out too much because everyone from P9 are a lap down. So pretty much they're potentially in the same position as they were before. But I think there's going to be a stewards investigation, I think, with that instance. I know there are some stewards in the lobby that watch every move and probably got a clearer stuff than we've got. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it was very... It looked very messy on the restart, at least from the angle I had of it. It looked almost like Snakey just kept a boot full of throttle into it as the rear end stepped out and just came back across the track. But I'd have to take another look to be absolutely certain on that fact. It could have just been the way the car was drifting around with the rear end loose anyway. But all of this has brought Grim Reaper back into this. Grim Reaper, of course, got caught up in the lap 1 incident that we saw from a decent starting position. We know that Reaper's got pace in that Haas as well, having put it into 3rd position in qualifying on the medium tyres, and is now absolutely charging back towards Ruff and Valor. 2.2 seconds behind Ruff, as Ella and Ginger having a bit of a battle side by side, though it looks like they're both ghosts actually going through the middle sector. But yeah, Grim Reaper's definitely going to be one to watch in the final stages of this race. Ruff, of course, does still have to make a pit stop, still running on 19 lap old mediums. I think just seeing how far he can get those mediums through this race before coming into the pits at this point. Staying out again, going for a 20th go around the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache on the yellow wall tyres, but that will give Snakey essentially a podium the way it looks at the moment. But Grim Reaper is looking very, very solid indeed on a hell of a comeback drive.
He is, and never give up in racing, because you will be rewarded for that, and sometimes you have to have the luck, but you also have to have the pace, and that is what Reaper is showing here today, and his tyres will make it, and he's in a net P2 right now, so he could be on course to win this race. Another yellow flag. It's Ella that spun again. No, it wasn't Ella, it was Hannah that spun. Looks like she's beached. She is going to wait until I think all the other cars have gone past. She's got to reverse. I wonder if she is beached. I think through that crest. She can't, she's trying. She's not even trying to reverse it. Oh, that's a bit harsh. The game did not give her a long time to get in a position, and boom, she's got disqualified. So there we go. So I wonder if she did get beached. I'm not entirely sure. Meanwhile, Reaper has got past Ruff up to 2nd.
Yeah, so showing that pace on the hard tyres, or the lack of grip that Ruff has got on the mediums, or the combination of the two. But Grim Reaper up into 2nd position, 5 seconds down the road as Valor, our race leader, just coming to turn 4 now as Grim Reaper heads onto the Retta Raposta. So that's not an impossible task to catch up, as Ruff is now starting to hemorrhage positions. I think Ruff's letting them through at this point, just knowing there's not a lot of grip going on in that car. Really just struggling to put the power down on 21 lap old mediums, but doing a damn good job of getting it still between the white lines around this circuit, has to be said, because I definitely would have looped it a few times on tyres that old, it has to be said, letting the lapped cars come back through as well. Just having a lovely drive out there at the moment, Ruff, it seems, but it is starting to heat up towards the front, though that lead has extended. Valor now 5.6 seconds down the road from Grim Reaper, 5.7 now, so perhaps there's not as much pace for Grim Reaper there as we would have expected compared to Valor, and 2nd maybe all she wrote for him towards the end of this race. We'll have to see how that unfolds, but Snakey is still coming back in this as well. P3 at the moment. You have to imagine he's going to have side pod damage, which is definitely going to give him some sort of penalty in terms of his performance on track at the moment, but only 1.1 seconds behind Grim Reaper. Can he get that to below a second and start trying to fight for that P2, as we've only got 13 laps left?
Well, it is quite tough, really, to be honest, because I've had side pod damage around this track, and to be fair, it's awful to drive around it. So fair play to Snake for keeping it on the road if he has got side pod damage. But he's still catching up to Reaper, so he may have the pace anyway, with or without side pod damage. So he's got a point to prove, to say it doesn't matter what type of damage I have, I can still go on, finish this race and score really, really well as well. So Snake then, about to start lap 25 soon. Actually, no, lap 24, because Val's passed it quite a while back. We are keeping an eye on Reaper's fuel. He's on the red warning light at the moment. So let's hope he doesn't run out of fuel for the end of this race. I've run out of fuel quite a few times around it in Brazil. As Ruff has trying to pretty much lap the cars in front of him, got F1 Nerd and Doug running their own races, but Deadly is on the attack as well. Deadly has had a nice comeback as well. Yash and Ella are fighting in the background. Don't forget, if you are in the top 15, you will score points. So Yash and Ella looking like they will still score decent points anyway. Not pretty much the points they would have liked, but at least they're still in this race. But Snake, 2 temps now. This is key. This is really crucial part of this race. He's got the fresher tyres. Can he get past the Haas?
Yeah, he's reeling him in at a tremendous pace. If he does have sidebar damage, which I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, he's doing incredibly well at managing it. The DRS is open now on that Red Bull as we head down towards turn 1. He's getting closer and closer. Is he going to dive to the inside? He's having a look, but is he going to be able to brake late enough? They're side by side into the corner, but not through the apex. Snakey backing out at that point, choosing to stay back and take a safer approach as we now get onto the Retro Reposter, and once again DRS is going to be open on the back of that Red Bull, going defensive already is Grim Reaper, cutting back across with the one move that will be allowed under braking, and that one move proved pretty decisive there, allowed Grim Reaper to stay in second position for the time being, but he's going to have to defend like a lion for the remaining 11 laps of this race, as it looks like Snakey definitely has pace on that Red Bull at the moment. He's just reeling in that Haas every single corner. You can see him almost pushing him through the middle sector. Is he going to try and sneak it up the inside somewhere in this sector perhaps, or is he going to wait for the DRS and take an easy pass? We'll have to wait and see, but at the moment he is all over the back of Grim Reaper through the middle sector. Right now this is the important corner, going through Junsao. Once again, it's all going to be about the exit from this corner and how much momentum you carry onto the straight. And it looks like a solid exit for Grim Reaper this time, actually dropping Snakey just a little bit, 8/10 the gap, but the DRS is just going to help Snakey bring that gap back down again as we get ready for another potential move into turn 4. This time there's no potential side-by-side to the first corner, but if Snakey carries momentum through the center S's, through the Curva de Sol, and now onto the Retro Reposter, he could be on for the move. It's a little bit far back actually, didn't quite carry as much speed as he would have wanted, and is going to have to try and regroup a little bit. Not a lot of battery left either compared to what Grim Reaper's got, and it looks like for now Grim Reaper's weathered the storm.
Yeah, Grim Reaper, I have to say, is on a defensive masterclass at the moment. He knows that he wants to get a good position. He got denied a few times last week, but he wants to prove himself this week, and that's exactly what he is doing. Snake is trying to put so much pressure on him, but to no avail at the moment. But Snake will know the gap behind is too big, 20 seconds. So they will keep squabbling and have a fun fight anyway. It will not make a difference in terms of them losing out on too much. They would not want a safety car. Yellow flag, that is Parker has had a spin. And like you were saying earlier, Paul, the Ferraris having a dismal showing as Parker has clipped the sausage curve. And that is why you should not have sausage curves like that in Formula 1, because you get stuff like this. So he has gone for a spin. He's going to be 2 laps down if he's not careful. Yash is in. I wonder if he's going to go on some soft tyres for the benefit of fastest lap, potentially as well. But we got Deadly on the back of Doug. He's going to go around down the inside into T1. And I think he could just about get it, which he does. As Doug was just struggling a little bit there for grip, it seems, at the moment. F1 Nerd, it got past Ruff, but to be honest, it was expected because Ruff is on 26 lap old mediums. I don't know how he's managing that, but he is a trooper. And to be honest, I am surprised that Ruff hasn't got a puncher.
Yeah, those tyres must be looking pretty worn at this point, it has to be.
Oh, Grim Reaper spun and he's reset to track.
Oh no.
That's a penalty.
That is going to be a penalty. We've seen it a couple of times already this season that we can't reset to track here in FHK. And again, whether it's the pressure or what, I'm not quite sure, but we saw it the last time Grim Reaper was in a good position, the last race as well, spinning out then and losing positions. This time, whilst putting on a really strong defensive drive versus Snakey and losing it as well, as Parker has retired before the pits, it would seem.
VSC, no, not VSC. Oh
safety
my
car.
goodness, full safety
It's a
car.
full safety car, and that could be a blessing for Grim Reaper. I'm just trying to see. I'm hoping the car doesn't disappear. What has happened? Coming out of turn number, what's that? Turn 15. Coming out of Archibalcardas. It looks like Parker's just dropped it somehow and hit the wall and is facing the wrong way. So that Ferrari is not where it should be, and now the safety car is out. And
Softs then. It's got to be softs.
yeah, it's gotta be. Is everybody going to come into the pits? Valor's pitting, but to be honest, with the safety car out, Valor's got nothing to lose from pitting. This works quite nicely for Ruff, though, to be honest, it being Ruff, I'm not expecting him to pit at all. I'm thinking he's going to go to lap 35 and then whack on a set of the softs for a bit of a joke.
Like an Albon in Australia.
Do a bit of an Albon and try and steal the fastest lap away. I can fully see that happening.
Definitely.
From Ruff. But yeah, so Valor's coming to the pits, Snakey's into the pits, Grim Reaper into the pits as well. Is F1 Nerd going to come in? I have to imagine F1 Nerd's going to come in as well.
Yes.
And he does indeed. So yeah, anybody that stays out now is
Rough.
questionable or rough. It's questionable or rough. That's the... But we kind of knew this was going to happen, as Deadly picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, diving in just a little bit too fast for this safety car, and Ruff retakes a podium position then in this race, but still has a pit stop
he hasn't stopped, so I think he's gonna run until he can get disqualified. But will his tyres make it before then?
Deadly in chat saying he was rammed going into the pits, so not diving in too hot, but perhaps somebody nearby diving in too hot. And I'm sure if that's the case, the stewards will be taking a look at that.
Yes.
After the race. But for now, with the safety car out, it has picked up Valor, and Snakey is once again right at the back of Valor. Ruff in P3.
Asylum stayed out.
Yes, as did F1. No, F1 Nerds put on a different set of mediums.
Does that mean they do not have a set of softs left?
Possibly they used them all through the qualifying, but there's an old set of mediums as well on F1 Nerd. So this is the set of mediums that F1 Nerd put on after the first pit stop, under the first safety car, before then coming in again to put a new set of mediums on. He's now put those old ones back on again as Grim Reapers. Oh, Ruff has finally come into the pit.
Hey, Ruff, finally. You're not Ruff.
I was expecting, it is a set of the softs going on that Alpine then. I was wondering if that might have gotten a little bit in the way actually with Ruff staying in. Ruff's got penalties as well, by the look of it.
I think he was a bit too late out of the pit lane, it looked like.
Yeah, it was very slow to get going again, but that does remove the object that was in the way of Grim Reaper, who has been handed a saving grace in the dying grass of this race, having spun out of the battle for second position, has now been thrust straight back into the battle, this time for the lead. If they can get on to the back of Valor quickly on the restart, any one of those three could win. We know Grim Reaper's got pace, we've said it time and time again, and yeah, pace is definitely going to be on his side, though there is an Alpine in his way. I've just noticed that is Mr. Ginge out of position, lying between those two at the moment. We were saying about how the game doesn't let you
unlap
yourself. So I imagine we'll be seeing, let me just confirm that is Mr. Ginge, I imagine is going to get very swiftly out of the way of what could be a lead battle when the safety car comes in, but not ideal in the slightest. But for now, Valor is still leading from Snakey and Grim Reaper. F1 Nerd, who is back on another set of the mediums, is in 4th. Deadly in 5th on a new set of softs. Asylum is in 6th, having not made a pit stop.
Safety car's in this lap.
And the safety car is coming in, and look at this, Valor already backing the pack right the way up. Are we going to see... I hope we see Ginge dive out of the way, because I would hate to see Grim Reaper held up in this lead battle, but he is going to be on the back foot a little bit, having that back market in front of him as the race restarts, and now Valor has chosen to go, and look at the gap he's pulling already on Snakey on this restart. 6 tenths, 7 tenths. Snakey was caught sleeping a little bit there, I think, under that safety car restart, as now Valor sets away to try and run off with this race. Grim Reaper's dropped back a little bit as well, and has another lapped car just in front of him. In fact, one of the Aston Martins is just in front, as there's a battle going on behind. Deadly and F1 Nerd are coming side by side into turn 4, and Deadly taking that position away. Brand new softs versus old mediums is always ever going to go one way. We briefly saw yellow flags there for a slow-moving car. What was that?
Is Ginge. Oh, there's a Williams that spun. That's Deadly. Deadly is spun as well. That is the start. Middle sector 2.
Yeah, it was Asylum that was going slowly down the Retroposta for some reason. You're right. Deadly's had a spin as well, losing those positions again, back down to P7.
That is not good for the 2 Williams, is it, towards the end of this race? But F1 Nerd's going to find it hard to try and get past the Ghost. Now, people think, oh, there's only a Ghost, you could get past. It gets very distracting. And there's a Ghost in front of you. I could tell you that it does not help with your braking points at all. So if I were you, I would move out the way anyway. But we're on lap 22. Val is already broken free of Snake and through DRS, which is great to see, as Ruff is up into 5th position. Right now, we can see both of the lapped cars of Yash and Ella fighting for 10th and 11th spot. We got Yash trying to go down the inside into the Sierra Lago as Ruff laps one of them, as Asylum is out of this race. He's retired in the pit lane, I believe. So that is his race done and dusted. So we're down to 10 cars. Shame for Asylum because he was looking so good, but sometimes you unfortunately get involved in incidents, and that's the end of that one.
Yeah, that's the pole sitter as well that has just retired in the pit lane from. I feel like we're saying this a lot this season. That was a round goes, and that was a reset to track as well for the Aston Martin of Yash. That's I have to say is going to be a penalty because yes, he's a Ghost, but you're not allowed to do that. You can't reset to track. Spun it around and immediately hit that reset to track button and point himself back in the right direction. And was locked in a battle with Ella Riggles, but Asylum, our pole sitter, I feel like we have to say this a lot this season, has retired from what would have been guaranteed points. All he had to do was get to the end of the race in one piece, and he was guaranteed to score some points. But he's retired in the pit lane and is thus going to get nothing. And this is the famous Michael Schumacher quote: to finish first you have to finish. And if you want some points, you're going to have to get the car to the end. I completely understand where a lot of the drivers come from. It's very disheartening with so many incidents happening during the race and to be caught up in so many. But in the bigger picture, 1 or 2 points, that could be positions in the championship for the team and the driver as well. So it's one thing to always keep in mind as the season gets closer and closer to its end.
Definitely, and I do believe at the end of lap 33, we would reach 90% distance. So if you're still in this race, you will score points regardless. So, good job for the top 10, but plenty of spots to be decided, especially if you do have penalties. Ruff could be on for podium here. Don't forget, Reefer will get a time penalty because he reset the track. So F1 Nerd could be on for a good result as well. I wonder if he's been told by his engineer that Reefer will be getting a 5-second penalty. We're not sure if any of the other drivers have reset the track. We only caught a few of them, but obviously it'll be up to the drivers to report them if they do see it. As we did have a spinner that was Yash again in the background, so but at least he's still going, which is fair enough. Has Russ got a penalty now as well, which just makes only 2 drivers to not pick up penalties. That is Val and Snake. Let's look at the penalties actually. So we got Reefer on 3 seconds, F1 Nerd on 6 seconds, Ruff on 3, Doug on 6, Deadly on 8. We've got Ginge on 9, Ella Riggles on 6, and Yash on 9 seconds as we're on the penultimate lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix in the lovely sunshine. Val leads 2.2 seconds over Snake. And it looks like, unless they bottle it, they're going to probably stay that way. As Doug is looking on course to be getting a good result as well. As Yash gets a 10-second penalty. He's now on 19 seconds. That's not good.
No, that might be a record this season for penalties in one go. And speaking of penalties, of course, we saw Hannah get disqualified earlier. She's putting some clarification as to what happened there. She was trying to do exactly what we say and continue to try and take some points away, even with orange rear wing damage, but the car just wouldn't select reverse, and the game decided enough was enough, and out you go, which is incredibly unfortunate. Having driven for so long with the orange rear wing damage, I do not envy you at all, Hannah, having to drive any of these cars with that level of damage, and it's no wonder we saw that Ferrari doing loop-de-loops a few times, because with that much rear wing damage you just get no rear grip at all. But a tremendous attempt to bring it home anyway, just unfortunate the reverse wouldn't engage, but we hope to see more results coming through for you towards the end of the season, as this race is coming towards its end. Jess, Vala looking pretty solid at the moment as we're on the final lap of the race, coming down towards turn 4 for the final time with no one around.
Yep, he's increased the gap by another 5 tenths over Snake, so he is pushing, and he's got plenty of EOS to boot as well, so I wonder if he's going to go for the fastest lap. The fastest lap so far does belong to him with a 109.665, so unless anyone could challenge that, he could be on for maximum points here today in Interlagos as he goes through sector 2. Very technical, remember. We've seen quite a few spins as well. We've seen quite a few controversies, quite a lot of dramas here today as well, with quite a few drivers getting involved in pile-ups. But no such trouble for Val, one of the only drivers to not get involved in that much trouble here today. So Val, he's going towards the start-finish straight then. He has been faultless throughout the entire race. This is good for Mercedes in the constructors, and Val's slowing down. I don't know why he's slowing down, but Snake comes across the line to win the race. Now, I wonder if because Val's a tier 1 driver, that he wanted a tier 2 driver to win the race. Fair enough. But Snake has gone on to win. Val in second, Reaper in third. I can't remember what penalty is for a reset to track. I think it's 5 seconds, so he may just about get away with still getting third place. F1 Nerd 4th, Doug 5th, and Deadly has spun across the line, doing donuts, it looks like, in 6th. Ruff will be 6th now. That was lucky. Deadly 7th, Ginge 8th, Ella 9th, and we'll just wait for Yash to cross the line there. So yeah, Snake won the race. It could have been Val, but I think he wanted someone who was a full-time driver in this tier to win, which is good sportsmanship from Val. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was very honourable indeed from Vala to allow Snakey to take the win, as I was just taking a look at Ruff as he clipped Deadly across the line and completely destroyed that car. It is in pieces on the outside, but he did cross the line, so that finishing position is recorded. But yeah, Val takes the victory by theory, but on the track, because he let Snakey through, Snakey takes away the maximum points for Tier 2 in Brazil. Val gets driver of the day. I think that's quite symbolic, really. Yeah. Actually, it was a pretty flawless drive from Vala, and then allowing Snakey to win as well works brilliantly right there. But just waiting for it to show up so we can confirm the results of this race eventually, as the podium celebrations set off, and Snakey in the Red Bull takes to the top step. We'll confirm the results. Snakey taking P1 in the Red Bull for the win here. Another win, it should be said as well. A really strong run of form at the moment for the Red Bull driver. Valet finishing P2 after allowing Snakey through. Grim Reaper coming back after being involved in that incident in turn 1. Lap 1 finishes on the podium in P3, but will there be a penalty to come from the stewards for that reset to track? We'll have to wait and see and update you on that next time. F1 Nerd stuck it out on the medium tyres, finished 4th, just ahead of Doug in the Aston Martin. And then Ruff, who was, it looked like at times, having just a really nice Sunday drive around here, even though it's a Saturday, finishing P6 ahead of Deadly. And Mr. Ginge, Ella Wriggles and Yash rounding out the top 10. Asylum finished 11th, having retired, well, didn't finish 11th, but takes 11th with a DNF, because there are quite a few of them around here. Our pole sitter choosing to retire early, as well as Parker, Weller, Finbot we saw crash out earlier on, Monkey retiring from the race, Alex having problems as well as KG Boy, and Hannah, who got disqualified after being unable to select reverse gear. It was another war of attrition going on in this one. But, yeah, Snakey once again coming out on top.
Yes, I have to give Val drive the day for that one, who drove faultless as well. But Snake did absolutely fantastic with his battles as well to eventually take the win on track. But we've actually finished the race, Paul. No bugs at all. The lobby was pretty stable throughout the entire race. I mean, I think the changes that the coordinators and admins have made has worked. Fingers crossed. So we will keep them hopefully for next week when we go to Abu Dhabi, where the drivers are in real life this week. But we're going to Abu Dhabi this week. The newly updated version, which I do prefer on this game, to be fair, compared to the one last year. So, yes, very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to commentating on that. What are your opinions on this track? Should it be a fun race for FHK League?
I think it will be. I still kind of prefer the old chicanes, to be honest. I think I'm...
So does Charles Leclerc.
I know that... Yes, I was going to say Charles Leclerc also prefers the old chicanes. I saw that video of his track rundown earlier. But I am in the same boat as Charles. I do prefer the old layout. I know the old layout had problems. And I know they are sort of limited in track geography in terms of changes. But we'll see what that brings for FHK next time out. Are we going to see some more people surviving next time out? The walls are definitely a bit closer in Abu Dhabi than they are in Brazil. So everybody's going to need to be on their top performance to try and stay between the white lines, try keep four wheels on the car and make it to the end next time out. We'll just have to see who manages it.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. But that's all from us today from FHK League. Unfortunately, no Tier 1 race because we don't have enough drivers. So make sure you join myself and Paul in just under 7 days' time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The championship is really heating up, so we'll have to wait and see if anyone can topple Aston Martin or Mercedes. I've been Jess Ball, Paul's been Paul. We will see you next time. Have a good evening, everybody, and good night.